Hello all, and welcome to my attempt at a YouTube channel. What are we watching here? Let me give you a little background. By day, I'm an IT geek, and I've been working in the IT field for over 20 years. My job was computers, and my hobby was computers. I decided I needed a new hobby. I had been fixing my daughter's cars for a few years and really wanted to work on a car of my own. So in July of 2020, I decided it was time to start the search. Being a child of the 80s and 90s and a huge fan of anything Dodge, I started to look for a Dodge sports car from that time period. I wanted something with a solid frame and body, but that needed interior and or engine work. After some searching and a little negotiation, I found a car that met my needs. Meet Stealthy, as my wife calls her, a 1991 Dodge Stealth Twin Turbo, with 114,000 miles. Now you might be saying to yourself, Mark, that's a Mitsubishi 3000 GT, and I would say to you, nay nay. If you look closely above the driver's side fog light, you will see the Dodge name stamped directly into the bumper. See, I told you, Dodge. If you listen carefully, you may also hear that needs engine work noise coming from the car. Let's get a little bit better listen. Here's that engine noise, up close and personal. You may be able to hear two distinct different noises here. There's a definite knock, and then there's also a tick. The tick I actually took care of by replacing a bunch of lifters just to see if that made things much better. I didn't video that at the time. While it did make the tick go away, that knock still exists to this day. The going theory is that it's a spun bearing, and along with fixing that, it also needs its 60,000 mile maintenance work, such as replacing the timing belt and replacing the water pump. I don't know about you, but I've heard enough of that racket, so let's move on. Day one of this adventure begins, and it's 46 degrees in the garage. Time to heat things up a little bit. 30 minutes later, and we're up to 60 degrees. I can work with this. Now that the garage is warm, I was eager to get started. First, I wanted to take the hood off. We'll make getting to the engine a lot easier later on down the road. I found a great website, and I'll put a link down below, that shows where I kind of found the procedure for taking the hood off, as well as actually pulling the engine out. It's a great website. So after protecting the windshield, I started to go in and started to remove all the bolts in order to get the hood off. What you'll notice is that I all of a sudden stop and start staring at the hood for a minute, and that is because I forgot to actually secure or support the hood from the front. And if I had just continued going forward, the whole hood would have flipped right over the front and things would have been damaged and it would have just been bad. Having found the right tool for the job, a pole used for painting high spaces, and the hood properly secured, we make quick work of removing the remaining bolts and setting the hood back down for later storage. Speaking of storage, where exactly am I going to keep this hood? It's gigantic. Time for another time lapse and some music to entertain you instead of me talking over the whole thing. Time to get back to the real task at hand, getting this engine out of the car. It's time to get rid of all the fluids that are in it, or at least some of them. We'll go ahead and get rid of the oil, and while we're at it, we're also going to drain out the radiator because we're going to pull that later on today. Cue music to drain fluids by. So it's the next day, and it's still cold in the garage. Time to heat it up? That's better. Let's get back to work. We're going to start pulling a lot of the parts out of the engine compartment now, and we'll just have a nice long time lapse to take this out to the end of the video. Well, everyone, I think that'll about wrap it for this video. If you enjoyed it, I think the statement's supposed to be you're supposed to like and subscribe. Who knows whether or not I'll make any more of these things, but hopefully you enjoyed it. See ya.